Well, and the other thing you guys are doing is haven't you taken some of the kids from the Philippines, some of the young triathletes from the Philippines who obviously would not have the ability or the wherewithal to go and race around the world, and you've taken them the races and you've taken them back to train with you in Thailand.
Yeah, I mean, I found that to be a super satisfying experience, and it added a lot more to my life. I mean, ordinarily your life is just swim, bike, and run, and eat and sleep. And for me to have that extra focus and a couple of athletes to mentor and guide and help has really given me something else, as well as I hopefully, giving them some support and advice when they need it. And I'm really happy with what we're achieving with the Filipino athletes, and in particular. And if I can play a part, albeit small, in that, then that makes me incredibly happy and very satisfied.
So let's go back to your training with Brett, and I'm assuming that you're not really focusing on Ironman distance at all. When did Brett come to you and say, okay, there's this Korea race coming up and you're ready for it?
I think Brett saw something in me from the outset that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah.
So I came into the squad thinking I was going to be an Olympic distance triathlete, with the Olympic as the big dream. Hawaii really, as you said, really didn't feature too much on my radar. But I think Brett had seen very quickly that I was probably I should be more geared towards the longer races.
Right.
But saying that, my training was Olympic distance program.
Speed.
It was a lot of speed work and not a lot of volume relative to many of the other athletes. And I think it was in June or July last year, so only maybe a month, maximum 8 weeks before Korea.
Right.
He said to me, "Do you want to do an Ironman?" And I mean, this has been written about. I said, "Am I ready?" And he said, "Yes." And so I said, "Of course I want to," because such was my faith in him and in his decisions. I followed that, and I had the confidence in myself because he had the confidence in me. And I think perhaps Alpe d'Huez for him was the turning point when I won that, and won that quite convincingly. I think he saw then that I'd be capable. I don't even know if he expected me to win Korea, but to be competitive. And he didn't want me to do an Ironman unless I'd be competitive.
And so you go to Korea, and you win Korea and qualify for Hawaii. And at that point, I mean, still you're fairly new at the sport of triathlon in terms of the history, in terms of who these people are. You come to Kona. I mean, there's people there who have grown up watching Mark Allen and Dave Scott and Paul Newby-Fraser. And I'm sort of guessing that if Paul Newby-Fraser walked up to you last year, you wouldn't have had a clue who she was.
I'm embarrassed to say that Mark Allen came up to me, and I only knew who it was because he was wearing a Mark Allen online T-shirt. But don't tell him that. And actually, the same went for Dave. I knew who he was because he'd signed a poster, and I came in afterwards to sign it. I was like, "Oh, Dave, yeah, pleased to meet you." Brownie point. But yeah, I was very, very ignorant and very naive. And I don't really make any apologies for that. I mean, some people have criticized me and said I don't have any respect for the history of the race or whatever. I mean, obviously now I have a deep respect for what these people have achieved and the history of Hawaii and Ironman generally. But I was new. I had no expectations on myself, and I think for me, ignorance at that point was bliss.
Absolutely. So when you're in the bike ride, and I talked to Belinda Granger, one of your teammates, and Belinda's riding with Kate Major and Dee Dee Griesbauer, and they're going along on the Queen Highway, and all of a sudden you blow by them like they're standing still, and Belinda turns to the other gals and goes, "There goes the race, and she's going to win this thing," and Kate Major goes, "Who is she?" And her name is Chrissie Wellington, and she is going to kill all of us. When you were on, the fact that you really didn't know much about the people or the course or anything when you're out there. Were you when you're on the bike, did you just feel like, hey, I'm just going to go for it and do my own thing rather than think about these other people and, okay, I'm sort of up towards a lead. That's McKeely Jones. Maybe I should be by her. You pretty much just did your own thing.
Yeah, I had quite a bad swim, so I was playing catch up, and in the first 20K I wasn't feeling particularly strong, but first 40K actually, and someone came zooming past me. I now know her as Kate Major. She came zooming past me, and I was like, oh Jesus, this is going to be a long day. But I always feel stronger in the second half of the bike ride. I didn't know that much about myself as an athlete then to be confident in that, but
right.
I do know that now. So I was just trucking along, and the headwind going up to Harvey played to my advantage because I push a big gear. I like the hills. I'd been in Switzerland, so I think I made up a lot of time relative to the other girls at that point. And I was shocked when I came up against there were seven girls. I really didn't expect it to be in that position, but I felt strong, so I honestly just didn't think twice. I was just, I was thinking, they're going too slow, I'll just overtake them. I didn't really think the only person I knew was Belinda.
Right.
And I said to Belinda as I went past, come with me, and she said, I can't.
That's a good sign.
And then I think Didi and Leander were in the lead at that point, and the same happened, and I just thought, well, I can overtake these girls. So I just thought, and
sure.
Then I was, oh my God, I'm leading this race, and I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it, and I felt very, very strong in the last half of the ride. The same happened this year, and then once I was onto the run, I felt strong throughout that
you looked
marathon
great
as well.
Yeah, you looked great during the marathon, and there was nobody coming back, and you're waving to the crowd and smiling and happy, and
yeah, I really enjoyed it, and to be honest, I thought, I'm leading Ironman Hawaii. I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. So I wasn't actually confident that I was going to win the race. Even right up until 30K last year, I wasn't confident that I'd won it. But I just wanted to enjoy every single minute, and I think that's why I was smiling right from the outset, because I was winning the biggest race in the world, and I knew that much. I knew the relevance. I knew it was a pretty big race, yeah, by the number of cameras and the helicopters.
The helicopter.
And all that,
sort of a giveaway.
all that stuff, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed all of the marathon, and especially the last, 5 miles or so.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody out here has always enjoyed the last part of that marathon too. Oh, that's really special. Yeah, it's 108 degrees going into the energy lab. So Craig Alexander takes second last year, and he basically says, okay, I'm focusing on Kona for next year, and he doesn't do another Ironman and just focuses on that. In the meantime, you go off and you win Australia, you win Germany, and these are great fields. I mean, these are really good fields, and you win everything you've done this year, undefeated. Did you feel, or did Brett feel at any point that, okay, we've got to cut back a little bit in the racing and get ready for Kona? Or was it, because the first year you did Korea and then you did Kona within 6 weeks, and basically you've done 5 Ironman races in about 13 months and won them all? It's sort of like that?
Yeah, and then the long course.
Yeah, then the long course. No, the long course is almost an Ironman. And Alpe d'Huez is how far? Far.
And
okay.
hilly.
And hilly, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically 7 big races in 13 months, long races with good fields. Any concern from Brett or yourself about overdoing it?
I trust